Welcome back, everyone. It's me, Matt. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know a Chinese piece of military hardware is badass if your president is showcasing it, putting a helmet on, and traversing the turret. This is President Xi Jinping from China, and he is actually showcasing the Z-10 helicopter. This is a really interesting attack helicopter, and we're going to go over it in detail today. But before we do, let me know what your favorite attack helicopter is, or just helicopter in general. Mine is, of course, the Apache longbow. It protected me and served alongside me in Afghanistan. I have a huge respect for it, and we're going to tie in a little bit the Apache longbow today because it actually has quite a lot of relevance to the conception and the design around this attack helicopter, and I am very interested in Chinese military equipment. I do not do enough of it, so it's time to explore this fascinating attack helicopter in detail, so let's get into it. From its conceptual design in the 1990s to its first flight in 2003, the Z-10 has gone through decades of refinement, technological advancements, and battlefield adaptation. The story of the Z-10 begins in the late 20th century, where the People's Liberation Army realized a critical gap in their capabilities. China lacked a dedicated full-strength attack helicopter. Now, of course, while global military powers such as the United States and Russia had refined attack helicopter programs for decades, China relied on modified transport helicopters for anti-armor roles. However, as modern warfare evolved and China's military ambitions expanded, the need for a purpose-built attack helicopter became undeniable. The turning point came in 1979 when Chinese defense officials began outlining the specifications what would eventually be known as the Z-10. However, it wasn't until the early 1990s, after witnessing the effectiveness of attack helicopters in conflicts like the Gulf War, that China accelerated its development program vastly. With the project officially launched in the mid-1990s under the codename Project 941, the Changhe Aircraft Industries Corporation, or CAIC, and the China Helicopter Research and Development Institute took the lead in developing an advanced multi-role attack helicopter. Interestingly, while the Z-10 is often touted as China's first fully indigenous attack helicopter, it had some significant foreign assistance. In March 2013, it was revealed that the Chinese had sought technical expertise from the Russian firm Kamov, best known for its coaxial rotor helicopters. Additionally, China acquired the Pratt & Whitney Canada engines, which were later adapted into military-grade versions, and a move which would result in the international controversy and legal action against the suppliers. By 2001, a full-scale model test had been completed, and in April 2003, the Z-10 took its first flight. The first production units were delivered to the People's Liberation Army in 2009, and by 2012 the helicopter was heavily showcased to the public at the 9th China International Aviation and Aerospace Exhibition. And you'll see in a lot of this footage actually that the helicopter is always touted as a bit of an airshow spectacular. Fast forward to today, and the Z-10 has become a key asset in China's military arsenal, conducting anti-armor missions, battlefield interdiction, and even limited air-to-air engagements. It was designed with a tandem cockpit configuration, where the gunner sits in front and the co-pilot occupies the rear seat, ensuring a clear line of sight for both operators. Now, many of you will disagree with me on this, but I have actually a little bit of respect for the fact that China knows how to copy things. They know how to look at something, tailor it to their own needs, and make use of a design that already works. And I really respect that. Why wouldn't you just copy what other countries are doing? It's not a game of, pride and whose does best. It's what works and let's utilize the same technology. It's been done not from just China, and China gets a pretty heavy hard time about copying technology, but many other countries have done it. It's just obviously China's a little bit more specific in its copies, particularly around the MH-60 Black Hawk helicopter, which is basically a splitting double. And as you can see, this layout is reminiscent of other modern attack helicopters, particularly the AH-64 Apache and the Eurocopter Tiger, demonstrating that China took huge inspiration from the world's leading designs. And let's be honest, the AH-64 and the Eurocopter are incredibly good platforms. And to be brutally honest, I actually think this is one of the most beautiful attack helicopters out there. As truly, the design is kind of a hybrid of those two helicopters, the Apache being butt ugly and meant to be butt ugly, and the sleek design of the Eurocopter. They're a very nice combination. I think it's a very pretty little helicopter. The fuselage of the Z-10 is optimized for low radar cross-section featuring sloped sides and a narrow front profile. This streamlined structure aids in reducing its detectability on radar, an approach that suggests that China had stealth considerations in mind when developing this airframe. The airframe is reinforced with composite armour, which provides improved durability while maintaining a relatively lightweight frame for enhanced manoeuvrability, which of course you need in an attack helicopter. The bulletproof canopy of the cockpit is strong enough to withstand 7.62mm rounds, offering fairly good protection for the crew. At 14.1 meters in length, with a rotor diameter of 13 meters, the Z-10 is relatively compact, allowing for better agility in urban and forested combat zones. It also features a maximum takeoff weight of 8 tons, making it lighter than the AH-64 Apache, but still packing some significant firepower. Aerodynamically, the Z-10 employs a 5-bladed main rotor and a 4-bladed tail rotor, granting it excellent stability and manoeuvrability, as you can see in this footage. The tail rotor positioned at the starboard side is mounted atop of a tall vertical fin with horizontal stabilizers at its base. This arrangement enhances control responsiveness during high-speed maneuvers and low-altitude flight. The main rotor is mounted low on the fuselage and features a fully articulated blade system, which improves aerodynamic efficiency and allows the Z-10 to perform complex flight maneuvers, including very sharp turns and evasive maneuvers in combat. The design innovation, of course, is also relevant to its exhaust configuration. Unlike traditional attack helicopters, which often have downward-facing or rearward-facing exhaust, the Z-10 features a upward-facing exhaust system. This serves two purposes. Infrared signature reduction. By directing heat away from the ground, the Z-10 reduces its vulnerability to infrared-guided missiles such as man-portable air defense systems. It also provides basic stealth properties. The smoother, more rounded structure of the Z-10's exhaust and fuselage aligns with the stealth design principles seen in next-generation attack helicopters like the Bell Invictus. While the Z-10 is not a fully stealthy helicopter, these features do indicate China's intent to at least try and reduce detectability and increase survivability on the battlefield. The undercarriage of the Z-10 consists of a fixed landing gear featuring 2 single-wheel main legs and 1 single-wheel tail leg. While some Western attack helicopters feature retractable landing gears to improve aerodynamics, China opted for fixed landing gear just to basically simplify maintenance and increase its durability in battlefield conditions. When you're trying to make a platform that's all compacted, making more working parts of landing gear going in there just makes things a lot harder, and this design choice ensures faster deployment and pretty good rugged landings in extreme environments, which China certainly does have. With its stealth-enhanced structure, lightweight composite armor and maneuverability, with a focused rotor system, the Z-10 is certainly built for survivability and precision strikes, but no attack helicopter is obviously complete without a cutting-edge aviation system or avionics suite to allow it to keep up. There's a lot of technology in this thing. It is equipped with a state-of-the-art avionics suite that enhances its battlefield performance, situational awareness, and survivability. One of these standout features is its advanced sensor and fire control systems, which allow the helicopter to engage multiple targets in all weather conditions. Now, it's really hard for me to find technical details as to how this system works because, of course, China is very reserved in how it shares this information, unlike things like the Longbow and the Eurocopter, which is fairly public. One of the most critical components, though, of the Z-10 is its YH millimeter wave fire control radar. This system provides very long-range target acquisition, all-weather tracking, and multi-target engagement capabilities. The YH radar enables the Z-10 to detect, track, and engage armored targets, helicopters, and low-flying aircraft before they become an immediate threat. This puts it fairly on par with the AN/APG-78 longbow radar used on the AH-64 Apache. Additionally, the Z-10 is equipped with a blue sky navigation and targeting suite. This integrates multiple sensors to input and provide real-time targeting data. It does have a forward-looking infrared FLIR and a low-light television system, and these allow the crew to identify and engage targets in total darkness or horrible weather conditions. The helmet-mounted sight with night vision optics, as you saw with the President there using at the start, allows the pilots and the gunners to lock onto targets using head movements, improving reaction time, and very similar to its Western counterparts. This suite of sensors significantly improves the Z-10's situational awareness, which is a huge transition from the transport helicopters that had nowhere near the capabilities to make it effective in both daytime and nighttime operations. The helicopter also has a huge amount of electronic warfare and countermeasures in there. Modern battlefields are filled with huge amounts of radar-guided missiles, infrared-seeking projectiles, and electronic jamming warfare. To counter these threats, it has a comprehensive electronic warfare package including the YH-96 electronic warfare system. This system disrupts the enemy tracking and targeting radars, helping the Z-10 remain undetected. It also has the BM-KG-300G jamming pod. These interfere with incoming missile guidance systems and reduce the likelihood of a direct hit. Like most military aviation of today, it does have a radar warning receiver, a laser warning receiver, and an infrared jammer, which scrambles the guidance systems of heat-seeking missiles. Interestingly, this system has been specifically designed to focus on the FM-92 Stinger. The helicopter also has chaff and flare countermeasure systems, deploying decoys to mislead incoming missiles, protecting the Z-10 from both radar-guided and infrared-guided threats. Together, these advanced countermeasures provide the Z-10 with an enhanced survivability, allowing it to operate in some fairly high-threat environments with a lower risk of being shot down. The system also uses a sophisticated fly-by-wire and digital control system. The enhanced maneuverability is very important to have a precise digital control input, and it does very well at that. This reduces the pilot's workload, making the aircraft a lot easier to fly during high-intensity combat, and prevents pilot-induced errors, ensuring that the helicopter remains stable in extreme flight conditions. The computer-assisted flight control gives the Z-10 an agility advantage, allowing it to execute very quick turns and evade enemy fire, and even hover more effectively. Now, the Z-10 holds its own in firepower, certainly not the same configuration or as heavy duty as the Apache, but it does have a chin-mounted autocannon which provides a versatile close-range weapon system. The cannon is gyro-stabilized and can be controlled manually by the gunner or automatically by the fire control system. This is interesting, allowing for automatic engagements of targets without the pilot or the gunner having to worry too much about them. The available cannon configurations include a 23mm autocannon, which is the default configuration, a balance between firepower and rate of fire, effective against lightly armoured vehicles and infantry. It can also have a 30mm autocannon, which is the upgraded variant, with more destructive firepower, capable of penetrating heavier armour, but with a slower rate of fire. It can also have a 14.5mm Gatling gun, its alternative loadout, with a very high rate of fire but limited armour penetration, similar to the Cobra attack helicopter of the US. The cannon is mounted on a turret, allowing for high-precision targeting with a wide range of movement. It can engage ground targets independently from the helicopter's flight path, allowing the Z-10 to strafe while maintaining continuous fire. As mentioned, its primary role, though, is anti-armor warfare, making its guided missile capabilities a crucial aspect of its effectiveness, and they put a lot of focus on this. It's capable of carrying up to 8 anti-tank guided missiles, which is not as many as the Hellfires produced onto the Apache, but still enough to provide a huge influx of anti-tank capability, particularly when there's probably nearly 200 more of these aircraft compared to the Apache Longbows or Apaches in the American fleets. The key ATGMs available for the Z-10 are the H-88 wire-guided, an older but effective wire-guided missile system comparable to the American BGM-71 TOW. There's the HJ-9 laser-guided, which is more advanced than the HJ-8, featuring a longer range and higher armored penetration capability. And finally, the HJ-10, which is really what the purpose of this helicopter has been based around. It is a fire-and-forget missile comparable to the AGM-114 Hellfire, and this is a top attack missile that can engage moving and stationary armor without requiring continuous guidance. With these missile options, the Z-10 can destroy tanks, armored personnel carriers, and fortified positions from beyond the range of enemy ground forces or potentially even anti-air defense. Unlike some dedicated attack helicopters, the Z-10 has a very limited air-to-air combat capability. However, it can still carry specialized AAMs to counter enemy helicopters and low-flying aircraft. It can be armed with the TY-90 air-to-air missile designed specifically for helicopter engagements, featuring a high maneuverability infrared guidance missile. The PL-5, PL-7, and PL-9 missiles are short-range infrared-guided AAMs, giving the Z-10 an advantage against most enemy helicopters and even drones, which is, of course, a big threat nowadays to helicopters. While not a primary dogfighting platform, the Z-10's air-to-air capabilities really do allow it to defend itself against aerial threats if necessary. For close air support and saturation attacks, the Z-10 can be equipped with unguided rockets, which are particularly useful for infantry suppression, light vehicle destruction, and soft target engagements. Some of the rocket configurations include the 57mm rockets with small but effective swarm attack missiles, allowing the Z-10 to blanket a target area with explosive firepower. With 4 hardpoints on its stub wings, it's capable of carrying a combination of 8 anti-tank guided missiles, 8 air-to-air missiles, 4 rocket pods, or additional jamming and electronic warfare pods. This modular weapons loadout allows it to be configured for a wide range of mission profiles, from anti-tank strikes to air superiority support for helicopters in the area. Now, the aircraft's power plant is strewn with controversy. It's equipped with 2 WZ-9 turboshaft engines, each generating 1,350 shaft horsepower. These engines are, quote, Chinese built, but they have been developed and basically copied from the Pratt & Whitney Canada PT6C 67C turboshaft engine, which is a very prominent helicopter engine in the Western markets. China intended to originally acquire these for civilian use, but later converted them for military application, which leads to a whole host of legal implications with the companies, which we're not going to get in today. But the WZ-9 engines provide a top speed of 300 km an hour or 186 mph, a cruising speed of 270 km an hour, and an operational range of around about 800 km, but for its combat radius approximately 400 km when fully loaded. Its surface ceiling is 6,400 meters or 21,000 feet. This performance profile allows the Z-10 to engage a variety of different missions while maintaining fairly good maneuverability in low-altitude combat environments. The main rotor system was developed with the assistance from Augusta Westland, ensuring a durable, efficient power transmission setup for these engines and for the blades. Its low-drag aerodynamic design really does help to give the operation of this aircraft in a diverse environment and different combat zones, and it has done very well in doing so. Of course, though, the turboshaft engines are very efficient as well in being able to give as much power with as minimal fuel, and something you definitely want. And it is a multi-fuel capability, which means you can put just about anything inside of there and it should work. However, of course, you're going to want to stick to avgas, but if you have low-rate avgas, it will still work very, very well. The Z-10 has been in service with the People's Liberation Army Ground Force for over a decade, playing a very good role in China's modern military strategy, and while it's not seen extensive combat like the AH-64 Apache, it has been tested in large-scale military exercises, amphibious operations, and counterinsurgency missions. In 2021, the Z-10 helicopters were used in China's multi-domain amphibious assault drills, launching from Type 71 amphibious assault ships to support beachhead landings. This operation demonstrated the Z-10 is capable of also shipborne operations, potentially playing a support role if there was a Taiwan contingency scenario. Although the Z-10 hasn't been in full-scale war, it has particularly involved itself with counterinsurgency patrols used in the Xinjiang, Tibet regions for aerial surveillance and rapid response missions against insurgent threats to China. There's also been the Southern China military drills with the PLA Air Force and naval units to secure maritime claims in the South China Sea, and border tensions with India. During the 2020 Lacas standoff, China increased patrols near the Indian border where the Z-10 helicopters were observed conducting training flights at higher altitudes. While these missions have not resulted in direct combat engagements, they do showcase a strategic role in China's defense planning, and they have aggressively expanded its arms exports, leading to the speculation that the Z-10 could be sold to many foreign militaries. Several nations have expressed interest in acquiring attack helicopters, including Pakistan, a key ally of China and potential first buyer of the Z-10, Thailand seeking modern attack helicopters to replace their aging fleets, and the African and Middle Eastern nations possibly markets for cost-effective alternatives to the Apache or Tiger. However, as of now, no fully confirmed export deals exist for the Z-10, possibly due to competition from the Russian Ka-52 and American AH-64 Apache. While the Z-10 has been widely deployed for the PLA Army Aviation Corps, it does have some notable challenges. There is a lot of limited combat experience, and unlike the Apache, which has seen decades of battle, the Z-10 remains untested in actual major war zones. There's also potential engine issues. The WZ-9 engines, while powerful, are not as battle-proven as the Western turboshaft engines. There's also Western sanctions and technology restrictions, and China's reliance on foreign engine technology has raised concerns about the Z-10's long-term self-sufficiency. To counter these issues, China is actively developing and upgrading versions for the Z-10, potentially featuring new engines and more advanced avionics. Now, the AH-64 Apache is, of course, I would say, the gold standard for attack helicopters, having served in numerous combat environments since the 1980s. The Z-10, often compared to the Apache, is not really, though, very fair. There are notable differences in firepower, survivability, and technology. Apache's radar is certainly superior. The AN/APG-78 longbow radar offers superior target acquisition and tracking, giving the Apache much better real-time battlefield awareness. The Apache also has more powerful engines, with the T700GE701D engines delivering huge amounts of more power and improving hot and high performance in extreme climates. The Z-10 does have a lighter frame and better agility and is more maneuverable due to its lighter airframe, making it fairly effective for close quarters combat and maneuvers. It also has good air-to-air capabilities, which has never really been the focus for the Apache, even though it does have it, and the TY-90 missile is certainly a formidable missile platform for helicopter engagements. Now, the Apache does remain the superior attack helicopter, but the Z-10 is slowly catching up and is of course a lot more cost effective. Numbers may be the win of the game for this particular helicopter. China is actively trying to give more and more upgrades to this platform, and with better avionics, improved engines, and stealth survivability, I really do think they're trying their very best to keep up with modern aviation, but it's really tough for them to make everything internally. The advanced composite materials that they're trying to get are becoming more and more expensive, particularly with tariffs that are coming out recently, and there is also a huge focus now on AI-assisted targeting systems, which are very complicated, particularly with China's network-centric warfare capabilities, which are quite old and dated, and to try and upgrade an entire aviation system within multiple different platforms of helicopters is going to be very, very difficult. If these upgrades are fully realized though, the Z-10 could emerge as a much more competitive platform in the coming years. So there we have it, folks, the Z-10 attack helicopter from China. What are your thoughts? I would love to hear your input on this helicopter, particularly this helicopter, because I do think there's going to be a lot of discussion about the comparison to the Apache and its Western counterparts, and I do really feel China's gone really hard at trying to make this platform very advanced and keep up with some of the counterparts from the West and even from Russia, and there's a lot of involvement with it being trying to produce internally, and this is going to make for some great discussion, so please leave me a comment. And as of course, with that algorithm, it fights me quite heavily recently, so if you could give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, it really does help the channel. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe, and thank you to everyone who's been financially supporting my channel recently. If you want to go support me, and thank you again for doing so, you can check the description box for my Patreon and PayPal links, and for those of you who've been sending me super chats in the comments section, thank you so much. It really does help the channel thrive and succeed into the future, and there's a lot of competition out there. I'm not here for a competitive edge, but it really does mean a lot that you as my following have been giving me some really nice support lately, so thank you. If you want to see different military equipment in my channel in the near future for me to review or do a deep dive on, make sure you also leave that in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching me. All the best, folks. Bye bye.